In this video, we're looking at the IFERROR formula in Excel. IFERROR is incredibly useful because it allows you to replace ugly Excel error messages with something more helpful and user-friendly. If you've ever seen errors like any of these in your spreadsheets, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Instead of showing these, we can tell Excel to replace these errors with our own customized message by wrapping formulas and calculations inside of the IFERROR formula. Let's see how it works. In this example, we have a list of products. We have the number of units sold, the number of units returned, and now we want to calculate the return rate. The calculation is simply units returned divided by units sold. So in cell D2, I'll type C2 divided by B2. Then I'll copy this formula down so that it calculates the rates for the rest of the cells. For most of the rows, Excel calculates the return rate correctly. But for the row where units sold is 0, we see this divide by 0 error. This makes sense, as dividing by 0 isn't a thing we do. This is where IFERROR comes in useful. IFERROR has two parts to it. The first part is the formula that Excel should try to calculate. The second part is what Excel should show if that formula returns an error. So we can think of it as, try this formula, if it works, show the result. If it doesn't work, do this instead. Let's complete the formula in this cell. The calculation is the same as we were doing before, so C2 divided by B2, and then, after a comma, we just put no sales in double quotes, and then close it out and hit enter. Now, I'm going to drag this formula down. You see the calculations at work still show correctly, but where we had the errors before, we now get a cleaner looking message. Obviously this message is customizable. You just put whatever you want into double quotes. If you want Excel to just keep the cell blank, you can just have the double quotes with nothing inside them, like so. And in this case, you may just want to force a 0 here instead. So instead of the double quotes, you could just put a 0 after the comma, and it will show a 0 if the error occurs in the calculation. I would caution to be careful on this though, as with different datasets, charts or dashboards, although a 0 can be helpful, it can also mask that something went wrong. Use whatever result makes the most sense for the data or sheet that you are working with. You can also tell Excel to just do a different calculation instead of hard coding a message or a 0. Back in D4 here, after the comma, I'm going to change the formula so that the initial calculation is C4 divided by B4 as it always was. But after the comma, I'm going to tell it to calculate C3 divided by B3 if the initial calculation shows an error. When I hit enter, you see that the error condition has executed and it's calculating the numbers in row 3 instead. While that has no use for this particular dataset example, the ability to say, do the calculation, but if you can't, then do this other calculation instead, can be a useful thing in different situations. For those of you that are already using the VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP formulas in Excel, wrapping the formula inside of IFERROR can be very useful for making your sheet look clean when the lookup formula doesn't find a result. Instead of showing NA results all over your sheet, you can tell it to show much cleaner information. And that's it for IFERROR. It lets you replace formula errors with something more useful or more user-friendly. It's especially useful with division calculations, lookup formulas, reports or dashboards, or any other spreadsheet where errors might appear. If this video has been helpful, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel for more Excel tutorials.